On the morning of Palm Sunday, March 28, 1920, an unsuspecting citizenry of Manistique, Michigan, was about to be awakened to the most ruinous event the city had seen since the devastating fire of 1883. The day before, all was okay on the river as the water flowed at its normal course on its way toward Lake Michigan, passing by a busy paper mill on the west side and a busy Stack's lumber on the east side, along with the Chicago lumber mill, before reaching Brown lumber as the furthest mill to the south. Below that, we can see the slips with its many lumber piles awaiting to be loaded on ships. Many miles to the northeast of Manistique flows the Driggs River, where cuttings of white and Norway pine were being ready to be floated down the river, destined for the Stack's lumber mill in Manistique. An ice jam broke, sending the violent stream of water flowing into the Manistique River that was already swollen from a larger than usual snowfall coupled with a warmer than usual weather, thus setting the stage for the catastrophic event that followed. The torrent of water soon breached the newly constructed western wall of the flumes, rushing toward Deer Street and Chippewa Avenue, wreaking havoc to anything in its path. Early in the morning, near the Siphon Bridge on the south side of Deer Street and west of the river, Waddell lumber began receiving its unwanted water, gaining momentum, sweeping away any of its stored lumber onward toward Lake Michigan. By Monday afternoon, the warehouse was filled with between 2 to 5 feet of water, compromising the foundation that would soon end in its collapse. Meanwhile, over on the east side, Riverside Coal and Produce, located on Elk Street, became flooded. The swift current carried coal, stocks of grain, and other produce toward the lake. The warehouse and storage buildings also sustained damage to their foundations. A little further to the south, Consolidated Lumber had a major break and gushed out, producing whirlpools of swirling water that picked up 100 piles of lumber, tossing them into the river and carrying them out into Lake Michigan. The nearby Stack's Lumber Company and the Handle Factory also sustained damage on the east side, where gushing water from the river's flumes also gave support. At the site of the paper mill, the rushing water passed right through it, breaking windows and upending equipment, almost destroying everything of value on the first floor. Storage and pulpwood were also being swept away. Fortunately, the paper machine was on the second floor and did escape the carnage. The paper mill also owned light and power, which also caused the loss of power to the city, but only for about 12 hours, while workers shored up the generators and put them back into service. Just south of Waddell, the Goodwill Box Factory is hit with tremendous force, wrecking 125,000 feet of lumber and 14 million feet of raw material. The foundation was undermined, then the roof began collapsing, leaving very little of the building left intact. Goodwill had a total loss of $120,000 and was never rebuilt because they could get no assurances that steps would be taken to prevent another flood. Men worked continually to prevent log jams from occurring, allowing the water to pass harmlessly under the train tracks. Several blocks away from the river, located on Chippewa Avenue, the West Side School only suffered minor damage since it was built on higher ground. Here, the tracks where some people were walking became partially submerged. By 4:30 Sunday afternoon, the flood poured over Deer Street on the west side of the river. Here, the north side of the street fared better than the south side due to the businesses having built up walkways and thus being on a little higher ground. At 2 p.m. on Monday, Mayor Giroux was the last auto to cross over the Siphon Bridge before traffic was suspended for the next 2 weeks because of log jams gathering above and below the bridge. Weston Street was the closest street to the river. The flood came on so sudden that it didn't allow enough time for anyone to save any of their possessions. Within 24 hours, the damage caused losses to the residents amounting from $400 to $4,000 each. Some houses had water all the way up to the second floor. 70 families were rendered homeless from the devastating water, and because the city's water came from the river, people were asked only to drink well water. The total cost was set at more than $500,000 to people's homes and $1 million loss to the industrial businesses. Damage also occurred on the east side of Manistique to the lime works near the quarry and to the chemical plant.